Welcome to the Creating Wealth Podcast, where Kyle Curtin takes you on an extraordinary journey alongside renowned multifamily real estate sponsors and syndication experts from every corner of the United States. We teach you how to harness the power of passive real estate investing and witness the transformation of your wealth building strategy. Let's create wealth together.
What's going on, guys? I just wanted to tell a quick story today that was something that I learned pretty early on when jumping into the entrepreneurship, real estate, business sort of arena about 5-ish years ago. And there's a really cool point to it that, I know is definitely something that a lot of people struggle with. Something that I definitely struggled with, and I'll get into that in a few minutes there. But basically, the action that I took ultimately ended up opening up my entire world, completely changing my life for many, many different reasons. So to kind of jump into the story, so back in it was either 2017 or 2018, probably like late 2017. If I had to guess. So I had recently, just kind of started to get into the real estate thing, or not even actually. I had just started to discover investing as a whole. And essentially, real estate eventually ended up poking its head. Dividend stocks and equities kind of poked its head first before I found using real estate as an asset class. And eventually, through my rabbit holes and my very, very deep ditch digging into this beautiful new investing world, I ended up realizing the fact that many of us, know nowadays that it's an incredibly relationship-based business, and your relationships are absolutely everything. So I was like, holy crap, man. I'm definitely, or at the time, I should say, was definitely a lot more of an introverted, type of character. Like I had my friends and, just kind of stuck around my friends and that type of thing. And, wasn't really the most outgoing and, more kind of took to myself most of the time. You know what I mean? So I had learned this fact of like, real estate, incredibly relationship-based business. Like you got to go out there, you got to meet people, and like crazy freaking things happen when you meet people, right? And it was like, all right, great. So I found the website meetup.com and also eventbrite.com, and I took to Meetup, and I was starting to look for like my first event to go to, right? Now, before I jump any further, a couple things that were going through my mind that were complete self-limiting beliefs, but you don't know what you don't know, especially when you're just starting off. I was like, oh, all these like crazy real estate investors, like, they're not going to want to talk to this, 17, 18-year-old kid, who just is starting to kind of like houses and that type of thing. And essentially, I'm like, I had that belief kind of going into it, right? Of like, oh, I'm just gonna kind of like be on my own and like, like nobody's gonna want to talk to me. You know what I mean? They're busy doing their real estate investor thing, and I'm just kind of here, And essentially, I couldn't have been more wrong, and I'm extremely glad that I was completely, and utterly wrong about that statement, right? Because essentially, like what had happened was I found this event on meetup.com, and it was hosted by this woman named Lisa Manfredi. Shout out to you, Lisa. I'm going to send this to you when this episode debuts. Because one of the first events that really attracted my attention was, for those of you guys who don't know, Robert Kiyosaki, like the guy who wrote that crazy purple book that is kind of a Bible to all of us in this community. He also has a physical board game called Cash Flow, where essentially like, each person plays a role. There's different like situation cards and stuff like that pop up, different things you can invest in. Like with each of the roles, there'll be like a a different set of like incomes and expenses, and like, you might have like a couple kids and be like a police officer, or like a chef who is single and like lives in an apartment, like that type of thing, right? Because essentially it's modeled to simulate real life. You know what I mean? All of us have our different situations going on, and different line items in regards to our monthly expenses, different investments that we might have in different areas, and that type of thing, right? So I was like, "Ooh, holy crap! Like this sounds kind of cool." And so essentially, what was happening was I would see this event, and my anxiety would be going freaking crazy. My chest would tighten up a ton, you know, a couple days before the event, a week before the event, the day of the freaking event, a couple hours before the event. And like my anxiety would be going crazy. You know what I mean? I'm like, cause it was that uncomfortable growth, that I just wasn't yeah, didn't feel like I was ready for, you know what I mean? And I had all these like, negative types of thoughts in my head, like I told you, about all these investors like aren't going to want to talk to me, like that type of thing, whatever, right? So I ended up literally, I kid you not, guys, this is as real as it gets. I literally pushed that event off for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, probably like a good couple months of like literally having nothing else to do that day. It was hosted at this little coffee shop in Charlestown, which is about 20 minutes from where I live now, like right down the freaking street, right? And like my anxiety would be going crazy, man. I'm like, it would absolutely be going nuts. You know what I mean? And I ended up always taking the excuse route. And I often joke with people and give them a little laugh, because I'd be like, oh yeah, I decided I couldn't go that night because it was my cat's cousin's half birthday, and like I don't even have a cat. You know what I mean? So like essentially like it was that uncomfortable growth feeling, right? And like not having the understanding and the kind of self-control, or the kind of that push of just going, you know what I mean? Just pushing yourself to go. So weeks went by, probably a couple months went by. I eventually ended up forcing myself to go. And I was like super uncomfortable, right? I it was actually kind of funny because this was literally like my first time networking ever. So I had just joined Berkshire, the company that I was an agent with shortly before that. And essentially I um actually I'm trying to remember. Yeah, it was. Yeah, because I have pictures of my business cards from that day. But essentially, so I had just joined a brokerage, just jumping into like the networking thing, and essentially, I went to this event, and I was dressed all nice, like an agent, like I had my business cards ready to go, thinking that, oh, like maybe I'll meet some potential clients and that type of thing, right? And that was just like the very, very early kind of mentality that I had of going into it, of like on one side of the coin, you have, oh, nobody's going to want to talk to me. I'm, just this 18, 17, 18-year-old kid, whatever. And also, oh, who knows? Like maybe, transactionally, maybe I'll meet a couple clients out of this or something like that. Right. And essentially, I ended up going to this event, and like dressed all like nice. I had like my quarter zip that I love so much, that I wear in the wintertime all the time, and that type of thing. And essentially I ended up going, there was probably between like 8 and 10 other people there. And there was this woman, Lisa, the host of the event, that was putting on the event. And she was absolutely freaking amazing. Like answered all the questions I had about playing the game and like helping everybody out. And there was, like a little bit of food and stuff like that. It was just a good time. You know what I mean? Like just bringing people together and that type of thing. And it was just a lot of fun, and the big point that I wanted to kind of bring into the limelight by telling this story um is essentially the meeting Lisa ultimately like and completely changed my life in a bajillion and a half ways. Because me and Lisa ended up hitting off. Like we turned into like really good friends after that. Like we would keep meeting on like Saturdays in that coffee shop to like talk about like crazy business concepts and the fractional reserve and like, drawing out banks on a whiteboard. All big banks have to have columns if you're drawing them on a whiteboard, guys. It's literally just a law. If you didn't know that. And we had a couple other folks with us, a couple times. One of which I ran into, shout out to you, Michelle. Literally like probably a year ago at an event, and like we've stayed in touch and jump on calls and chat once in a while. But it was just really funny because that was like freaking 4 years ago or 4 or 5 years ago or something like that. Like you just never know. But essentially my point being here, guys, that's very long and drawn out, is that from forcing myself to go to that event, jumping over the hurdles of my anxiety and, that uncomfortable growth factor ended up resulting in an extremely crazy relationship with a woman who literally like opened up my entire world. In this crazy entrepreneurship, ecosystem that we all know and love so much, right? And like just showing you how to think differently, and like how to wire your brain differently. And like she was even showing me like the infinite banking concept, like all this like phenomenal like crazy stuff, right? And we're still like super good friends to this day. We don't talk as much, but yeah, man, literally like Lisa was the very very first mentor in a sense that that I ever had, in this whole entire business world. And like super super good friend, like first person ever to like really like start to rewire my brain, and eventually resulting to the guy that I am today. And it literally wouldn't have happened if you trace everything back. I guarantee you I would not have what I have today, which I have a very long way to go, before even coming close to the vision that I have for me and my family and the community and that type of thing. But I would not have what I have today if it wasn't for meeting Lisa, starting to have those first freaking conversations of like opening up the entire world. And that literally would have never happened if I had never forced myself to be uncomfortable and grow and go into that different environment to be able to meet those kinds of people, like, and just grow together. And guys, essentially, like, the big point here is that, go to the, to go to events for the first time, especially if you're by yourself, you know what I mean? But a couple quick points about that is, one, that event that you don't want to go to, you might meet somebody there that might completely change your freaking paradigm. It just happened for me again recently. I ended up going to an event, meeting this like crazy multifamily broker up there. And we ended up, sitting down with her for lunch, and staying in touch. And there was like a huge portfolio up New Hampshire that got brought our way. And some really like deeper conversations, kind of jumping back into the syndication world, and it comes up once in a while, guys, of literally like you never know who you're going to meet at that event. And like just freaking go, just go and have a good time, go be uncomfortable. It's easier said than done, guys, right? But I'm telling you, I procrastinated for weeks and weeks and months. And the like from just having like, a little bit of an oomph, a little bit of a push to really get yourself out of that shell and run might completely open up doors that you couldn't even dream about in a million freaking years. And this type of thing can happen literally anywhere, guys, especially meetups, jumping on webinars, going on Facebook and like sending people direct messages, like I talked about in an earlier show, like jumping on the phone with people. You have no freaking idea who you're gonna meet And like, you never know, guys. Like you could meet, like your next partner and you guys could make like a freaking $1 billion company together. You know what I mean? Or, that person might know 2 other people that can bring $500,000 to your next syndication deal, as passive investors. Like, like you never have any idea, so like, just get out there, go be present, go to events, go meet everybody, talk to freaking everybody, guys, go build relationships, go have fun, and change your life, change your family's lives, change your kids' lives for generations. It can all start with one relationship, guys. Another saying that I've said over the past few years is that one sentence from one person in one conversation can change your entire freaking paradigm. Your entire freaking life can literally happen from like just a person that you're having a conversation with saying a certain sentence that they might not necessarily think anything about. That might be the thing that you needed to hear to click in your brain to go, and just think about things completely differently and spark this crazy like train of thought and like close one door, open up another door and go. You never freaking know who you're going to meet. Get out there, guys. Go be in your uncomfort zone. Go get out of your comfort zone. Those are the English words that I was trying to put together and it didn't really work out. I'm getting excited. I'm sorry. But go be uncomfortable, guys. Go grow. You literally have no idea who is out there. And I'm telling you, I mean, most of you guys know me. For those of you who don't, relationships are my favorite freaking thing in the world because your life changes. The people who, you build relationships with, their life changes. People's families can change. People's generational trees can change. Collaboration is everything. Get out there. Go change your life. Alrighty, my friends. That is all for today. I hope you have a fantastic day today. Get out there. Go be uncomfortable. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.
That's a wrap for today's episode. We want to thank you for being a valued listener of the Creating Wealth Podcast. Make sure to visit www.creatingwealth.com to connect with us. Dive into our ever-expanding library of informative blogs. Get access to our private investor portal and explore a wide range of additional valuable resources. Stay tuned for our next episode as we continue to create wealth together.